Julie, as I understand it, you were in favor of this deal. How big a loss is this?
Yeah, definitely in favor of the deal. Still would be. It's really disappointing. It's a big loss. You're talking about tens of thousands of jobs that, as of this morning, were going to come here, and as of right now, are not. So while we're incredibly disappointed, and we think this is a huge missed opportunity, both for the tech ecosystem here, but much more broadly for the city and even the region. The tech ecosystem, which I think we'll talk about, is still growing. Tech in New York is in really good shape, as you just said at the outset, and we still feel quite bullish about that.
Now, Amazon shares at Jitendra didn't change much today, ended the day 1% down. Does this impact Amazon's business?
Longer term implications are different, but actually, if you look at the expectations for this year and next year, it really doesn't impact them because, this was mostly a multi-year plan to expand corporate offices, and the spending that's going up this year is mostly on the AWS and logistics and content and those kind of areas. So this doesn't impact the near-term expectations for Amazon at all, but longer-term implications with, the political backlash, regulations, this, that, those things, continue to be an overhang.
Now, Julie, Amazon still has 5,000 jobs in the city already. Google has a big and growing presence in the city, Facebook as well. So what does this mean for New York's tech ecosystem? Is this an opportunity? Or, does this now leave a vacuum?
So I think you got to think about what we see here already. Like you said, Amazon is committed to New York with 5,000 jobs, and I understand those will continue to grow. New York has seen incredible, really, really great incremental job growth in the tech sector. We have well over 300,000 tech jobs here across the city. That number will continue to grow. Companies want access, tech companies obviously, want access to the unique things that you find in urban landscapes, particularly New York. Diverse talent base, amazing academic institutions, cultural and arts institutions, public transit when it's working, these things that are so uniquely New York. So these companies will continue to come here, I have no doubt. They will continue to grow here. And you'll also see, I think, that as companies we don't think of as traditional tech companies increasingly are becoming tech companies, that the tech ecosystem will continue its growth. However, what we're talking about, the missed opportunity here is a really big bet. We're talking about thousands of jobs here and there over years. This was a commitment of between 25,000 and 40,000 jobs. And that is, that's disappointing to lose that in one day.
From what you're hearing from tech entrepreneurs, tech employees, what do they say?
By and large, we're hearing disappointment, particularly from the leaders of the community who are looking and have been so diligently growing this ecosystem. What the promise of Amazon was for the ecosystem wasn't just the jobs, but the idea that as you attract more engineers and more entrepreneurs, as you train more New Yorkers to be those engineers and entrepreneurs, and they come through the Amazon ecosystem, they come through the Google ecosystem, and then they leave and they build their own companies and they hire their networks. And that's how an ecosystem grows. And that's what took a hit today.
Meantime, Jitendra, another big story we've been following today, the Washington Post reporting that Facebook could face a multi-billion-dollar fine from the FTC to settle their investigation into Facebook's privacy practices. We don't know the exact number here, but how big a blow is that?
If you look at what happened with Google when they got hit by the fine, it was basically a one-quarter hit and moved on. But with Facebook, the worry is more about what's coming next. The last record fine was $20 million. So we don't know how big this one is going to be in that context, but it's about what's coming next is what sort of scares us more than what we saw with Google.
A little bit more from this Washington Post report. The fine has yet to be agreed on by both parties. The FTC could take Facebook to court if negotiations fall through. More broadly, could something like this force Facebook to change its business model, and then could that have a big impact on Facebook's business?
So one catalyst for the second half, and actually next year as well, is them trying to merge Instagram messaging services and all those to monetize everything better. And if regulators sort of get in the way over here, that could derail expectations. So that is a risk for them from a business standpoint, especially it being a big catalyst, given stories is where growth is at for Facebook.
Julie, do you feel the same backlash against Facebook in New York that we've seen in among customers and in the media?
I don't think so. Facebook is a really great neighbor here in New York. They're part of the broader tech ecosystem in New York. And one of the things about tech companies in New York, today's news aside, is that they're really increasingly part of a very diverse economy. You know, tech is not the only economic giant in New York. In fact, it's not the economic giant in New York. And that creates a much different political dynamic here.